Welcome back to our channel where we focus on the vital steps you should take to improve your health and reverse your biological age. We hope you have watched the first 10 videos in this series where we have looked at the all-important rules of nature that you must follow, if you are serious about turning back your biological age. In this video, we will ask if you are prepared for the unthinkable to happen to you. Please stay with us a few minutes, it might turn out to be super important to you. Now, let us assume that you follow nature's rules, and you feel great, and your doctor is really happy with your results. Your tests are better than ever. In fact, your doctor tells you that you have reversed your biological age. So all is well until the unthinkable happens. During the next 60 seconds, we will not disturb you, we just want you to imagine that you are the patient being rushed into the hospital. During these 60 seconds, ask yourself if you are covered for such a terrible ordeal. By now you have guessed that this video is focused on your need for a proper health insurance plan. Whatever the status of your health today, and whatever biological age you have achieved after following nature's rules, you still need to have a proper backup in case the unthinkable should happen to you. If you live in a country where a national health service provides you with whatever care you might need, you are lucky and probably don't need to watch this video till its end. However, if you live in a country where there is no free nationwide health service, you should stay with us to learn more about the need or proper health insurance. This is especially true if you are a retired expat who lives in a country where you are not covered unless you sign up with a private insurance company. If this is the case for you, please stay with us for a few more minutes. Health insurance is not cheap, and it can be tempting to go without coverage, especially if you never get sick. With the expensive monthly cost and out-of-pocket expenses, you may be wondering how much you really need coverage. Many people may feel they are healthy enough to skip out on health insurance. When you rarely see a doctor, and especially if things are tight financially, it may seem like a good idea to cut the health insurance expense completely from your budget. You can pay for medical expenses as you go instead of worrying about the insurance premiums. However, this could be very difficult if you have a serious illness, an accident, or an ongoing health issue because the costs can become very large, very quickly. This is why it's essential for everyone to always have some form of health insurance. Medical emergencies are very expensive. If you have the misfortune of undergoing a medical emergency without insurance, it is easy to find yourself with a crippling amount of medical debt, and seemingly no way out of the mess. If you are not yet covered, we highly recommend that you watch the following part of an excellent interview from the YouTube channel called Retire Cheap. Here you will get some very valuable pieces of advice from the Chief Executive Officer of Pacific Cross Health Insurance, Mr. Tom Thompson, and from the Director of Client Relationship, Mr. Jamie Connell. You will find the full interview on the channel Retire Cheap, which is among our recommended channels here on Men's Health and Wellness.
And also I want to mention here too, because of the overwhelming amount of people contacting you, I would like to also mention to people maybe have a little more patience than normal for you to get back in touch, because you all are in overwhelm at this point.
Well, at one stage, the lookups on our on our website increased from its daily 250 to 300 by 500%.
500% more.
And it caused us
a lot of
great
trouble.
problems.
Yeah, sure.
So JC, what I would like to let people think about who are looking at insurance in Thailand, because you're moving into an older age group, consider taking an annual deductible on a policy. That way you lower the premium, even if you start trying to save the deductible. But my belief is that you can borrow a deductible from a friend or a family member, but you can't borrow the amount of the premium. Like a 5 million, you can't get that.
No.
So in your home country, you may not understand deductibles, you may not be used to deductibles, but you have to give it some thought. A deductible is self-insurance.
Oh, I have a thousand, the equivalent of $1,000 US deductible. I want to say it's what, 40,000,
40,000 bucks.
something like that. And I mean, it substantially reduced the premium cost for me, and was well worth it. And of course, you all now have discounted. I've had it a couple years now, and you all have discounted also because I haven't filed any claims. So there is ways to lower the premiums.
Great.
I'm just hoping that they'll be able to take my hope is that people are going to be able to get the kind of coverage I have, and also be able to use that to comply to this.
On Tom's note, I think it's important to say as well, there is a lot of people in this country that don't have any insurance. And they said, some of them have got their self-insuring, they've got money in the bank, and that's great. There's also a segment that are saying, I'm an Englishman, right? Of the amount of English people that I've spoke to that said, well, if I'm sick, I'll just fly home. People don't remember you have to be medically fit to fly. If you've got anything serious and that doctor can't let you on that plane, what happens then? So at the very minimum, everybody should have some kind of insurance policy sat behind them. And if it's about premium, there's ways that we can lower the premium to make it affordable. And with the product suite we've got, it's not. We've got low, mid, and high-end insurance.
You're probably a good person to ask too, as well, as far as being able to fly back. Don't they have to return back into their home country, into England, for a certain amount of times before they get back in the queue for help?
Well, that's very true. With the NHS, people, don't quote me on this, but my understanding is once you've left the country for 3 months, you're no longer eligible for treatment under the NHS. That said, the hospitals in England won't turn you away. They'll treat you first and
I think you do have to reestablish yourself there for a specific amount of time, if I'm not mistaken, and don't hold me to that either.
Tracy, what I'd like people to remember is that while the doctor can say you're medically fit to fly, the chief purser on the aeroplane decides whether he's going to let you on or not. So we've had instances where people have had a stroke, they want to go home to the UK, 2 people want to go home, however, they were incontinent. And as a result of that, the purser would not accept them on an aeroplane. Now those people stayed in Thailand as it was for in excess of 3 months, and one of them had to stay in hospital. And I can tell you the expense, in fact both of them stayed in hospital, but one of them, the expense was just over 7 million baht. So
even if they had enough coverage to stabilize themselves to be able to get back, but again, it's going to be up to the discretion of the chief purser of the plane whether they're going to let them on or not. But just even if they said, well, you can't fly as you are, but we can stabilize you. We need to, and then you can go home if you want to stay there and get coverage. But at least they got to have coverage to get to that point, right?
Just understand if you don't have coverage and you're not in a position to get home, be prepared that either you're going to, fall by the wayside, or you're going to go into a hospital and going to the doctors for the flu. Yes, Thailand's quite cheap in that respect. Make no mistake, if you go to a private hospital and you're admitted over a length of time, that the bills can get out of hand, and it could be. Tom's seen people that told him they'd get a policy and they didn't. They've ended up having to sell a house or. It's
and we've got bloggers now. One blogger in particular that said, "Oh, I'll get health insurance coverage next year," and he was diagnosed with cancer 1 year before he was going to pick up coverage, and now he's faced with these bills. And so, I mean, all these are issues that need to be considered when people are thinking about insurance, and rightfully so, because now for me, I have about $1,000 deductible. I'm married to a Thai person. I'm completely happy if it's a minor situation. I fall off the motorbike or something and I'm not, in serious injury, of going to a public hospital where it's very inexpensive and I pay out of my pocket. I have you all's coverage for either an issue that I need diagnosed properly, which I would feel more comfortable in a private hospital doing with their expertise as opposed to a public hospital, or if I do have a serious illness and I need serious treatment, then I need to opt into the private hospital, and that's when y'all's coverage is going to be a lifesaver. Literally, pun intended.
But the funny thing is, JC, your plan covers you up to 10 million baht, and that's not an aggregate total. That's 10 million baht per condition per year. You're very well protected. Now, some people don't have the capacity to get a plan that covers them up to that much. There is people over here that are retiring cheap. So they might have a plan that will cover them up to 1 million or 3 or 5 million baht. Then you have to be very particular about which places you're using for treatment. So for example, if you've got a plan that covers you up to 1 million baht and you did get cancer, yes, we will all... Here's another point. Because we've fully underwritten, we will pay every single claim that's valid. Whatever people would like to say online, as long as you've declared everything correctly and been truthful on your application, we will honour every single claim that comes out. Furthermore, we won't kick you off at a certain age. We'll renew you through the lifetime. But if you are on a plan that's got a lower level coverage, be careful about which hospitals you're going to. Tom's seen cases before where people have gone in with cancer, they've gone straight to Bumrungrad. It's a great hospital, but it's one of the more expensive ones.
Absolutely.
So we're also here to assist.
You'll burn through the coverage
Very
a lot
quickly.
quicker. That's a good point.
But we're here to
I
help.
never even thought of that.
Right, so, we're here to advise people. So, if somebody's gone into this hospital, Tom's done how many cases where he's called the client and said, I'd advise you to get out of that bed if you're
You're going to burn
mobile,
through your coverage in no time.
go down to another
And a
treatment
very good
provider.
point. And I never thought about that because my coverage,
You're fine.
in my handbook, I can go to basically any name hospital here and have my coverage accepted. And so, but I never thought about as you increase the standard of the hospital, or if they are a medical tourist hospital, which are known for being higher costs, those costs are going to burn through your coverage a lot quicker. That's a very valid point.
And can I just tie that back into the deductible thing that Tom said, is that, although we've got this big, range of products, you'd be so much more better off to get a higher level plan that gives you that peace of mind and do the necessary steps to bring the premium down, whether it's a higher deductible, whether it's the outpatient removal. I can sell a Premier plan that costs X, right? But I can also sell a Maxima or a Maxima Plus plan, do some mechanisms to bring down the premium that would have been the same exactly.
Cost.
So if this always comes down to budget. People usually here are buying on budget. Come to us, speak to us, tell us your requirements, tell us your budget, explain to us your conditions. But again, we try and be as transparent on our offer letters before anybody's made a decision or taken the policy out. Most other companies, very easy application, very easy to pay, but they know nothing about you. And it's only when you're sick that they will investigate the condition. And that is why, when you think you're covered for something, and in fact you're not, because they didn't know you were on blood pressure tablets or whatever, the insurance company doesn't want to pay.
Then they don't file. They don't pay the claim because it was pre-existing, even though you didn't. They know it's pre-existing, even though.
What people have to understand is that when you think you're going to die, you tell the doctor 110% of the truth. When you discover that you're not dying, the truth is diluted. So that's when an insurance company finds out. Because they get the medical records in, read it and say, you've had this treatment before. And I say to people, be honest. Don't say, I forgot. Most people know whether they've had a mini stroke, they've had an MRI in a hospital before, they've had a back problem, whatever, they know it. Tell the insurance company right at the start.
Yeah, be honest up front, because they don't want any unexpected surprises where all of a sudden they have a bill that they have to pay because you all find out that they had pre-existing conditions that they didn't disclose to you all.
It wastes a whole lot of time for the insurance company having to check on it. It's easy to say, well, just pay the bill. But you pay the bill for genuine claims. You don't pay the bill for claims that are not genuine.
Yeah. Well, if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and close it. I just do want to say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me and answer these questions, because my members are always, I'm fielding questions. And I'm not an insurance company. I have no knowledge like you all have. I do have knowledge about the visa end of it and all that. But when it comes to coverages and all this, and what you're being told by the government and by these regulating agencies, I didn't have a clue. And I thought, okay, we need to make some clarifications here for the YouTube viewers and put all this out there. And if they have any other questions, that they can contact you. But this is like... There seems to be people in the YouTube community that don't believe anything anybody says. And they might not even believe you. I mean, these people are just, it's funny at this point. But the people that are serious and concerned about this issue, now they've got some real information. I think that's really valuable. So I want to thank you all.
We're always a call or an email away. As I said, the underwriting is important. Thank you so much.
So I hope this has been helpful. I hope it's been informative. And if you have any other questions, I'm going to put a link in the description to where you can contact Jamie directly, and he'll field questions. Again, have a little patience. They are in overwhelm at this point. But hopefully, and contact me too. If any clarification comes out or any changes, please let me know, and I'll pass it on, or we'll come back in and sit down again. And if there's a clear-cut distinction that we need to know about.
I think, because obviously, you're just on the last point, in the coming months, we'll also be taking on some other professionals that can speak multiple languages: German, Italian, French, Japanese. So we're there to help, and we're there to be as helpful as possible. Despite what these people will say online, we're not here to just sell a plan for the sake of it. We're trying to do the right thing for the right reason. All right?
Good. Well, thanks again. And even when it comes to complying with insurance regulations nowadays, there's always an option. And again, they even mentioned, make sure to do your homework and find out what you're going to need to comply to, and then reach out into the different companies. Pacific Cross is one of the ones that have been approved, but reach out to them and see what they offer and as far as the service. And but I definitely say check out the Pacific Cross. I think it's one of the best companies out there.
Thank you.
And that's why I have insurance with you all. So thanks again for your time.
Cheers.
And we'll be in touch. And there you go.